Yo, welcome back to another season of the Black Academia Podcast. Your boy T, and guess what? I got a co-host. Go ahead, introduce yourself, fam.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is the Hood Poet. Nice to meet y'all. Hopefully, y'all, satisfied with me and me.
Yeah, salam alaikum. Bro, let's just jump right into it, man. You know, I'm not much for beating around the bush. What are we talking about today?
Yes, sir. So today I was planning on talking about, Muslim history in America for real.
Okay.
Kind of figure we could dive into some of the things like not only Muslim history, but also, within the black community, you feel what I'm saying? Touch on some important issues, important topics that we got going on for us as a people and as well as the Ummah,
I dug it. So how do you want to dive into this? I'll let you pop it off. How you want to dig into it?
So I figured we could start off by just talking about our own history and like introducing ourselves to the people, you know what I mean? Letting them know about how we came to Islam and like what our backgrounds are, you know what I mean?
For sure. Well, for those of you who've been listening to the pod, y'all know what time it is with me. I'm not gonna go into too many details, but since the beginning of the pod up until now, obviously a couple years have passed, so we're going on 10 years of being Muslim, alhamdulillah. And inshaa'Allah, I die upon the hawk and die as a Muslim. Y'all know how I am. I'm a private person, so I'll say this: I had my own struggles and trying to find God, trying to fill the void, looking for what the meaning of my life is, what my purpose is. Alhamdulillah, I found that in Islam. Not perfect, just striving. And Islam is a journey. That's what it is. And so my journey is a story that continues to be told, and in my case continues to be walked. Because I'm not one that likes to talk a lot about what I'm doing or what I've been through. However, when people see the walk, or that people see how you carry yourself, where you came from, as opposed to where you are, they can see that you're taking the necessary steps to grow and change and get better. So that's just me. I'll let you take the floor and let them explore more of who you are, because they know who I am.
Yeah. So, similarly to you, from Ohio.
Yes, sir.
Not too crazy of a story, pretty typically untypical, you know what I mean? But I came to Islam in 2018. Prior to that, I was brought up in a Christian household. My mom is Christian, my grandparents are Christian. Went to a Baptist church growing up, kind of strayed away from the church and went down, into what our society is more tapped into as far as getting into the streets and doing things like that in my teenage years. And then, as an adult, life's humbling, man, and humbled me quick at a young age, you know what I'm saying? So with that being the case, I feel like it just led me back to believing that there was a God, because I kind of strayed away from that. And through those humbling processes and through educating myself as well, came to Islam in 2018 at the age of 22, you know what I mean? But when you became Muslim, was it here or was it in Texas?
It was in Texas.
Okay.
Yo, I was 23, and I was in Texas. I was seeking out God, in my own way, through chaos though. If that's the best way to put it, I was going through something, as Kendrick would say. I was going through something internally. I will say this, and I've said it in previous pods. A lot of people don't know, didn't know, and if you listened to me in the past, whether that been old music or poetry, you know that I was a person who went through suicide situations, and that really messed with my head for real, because people look at you from the outside in, or the image that I portrayed from the outside, wanting to look a certain type of way, but internally I was not okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna say I was fighting demons. I was fighting myself. I was fighting against my internal soul.
Mm-hmm.
Doing things on the outside that was in direct contradiction to what was on the inside. Wanting to seek out the approval of others, whether that been certain girls at the time, guys I hung with, things of that nature. And then deep down, knowing those things that I was doing was pricking my soul for real, for real. So I was lost and seeking here, and I took that journey to Texas with me, and then I encountered a brother and then a couple of other brothers at the martial arts studio that I trained at, and the rest history. From there, I took Shahada in the parking lot after, like a year or so of listening, asking questions and stuff like that. So, yeah, man, long journey thus far, and one I hope to continue. Inshallah, may Allah be pleased with me, have mercy upon me, and you as well, and all the brothers and sisters of the Ummah. I mean,
yeah, for sure. What do you feel like it needs to be a black? Okay, so in English language, we play with adjectives describing words. You feel what I'm saying? But I feel like it's always proper to address us as Muslim first. You feel what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, but it comes off to the tongue. It sounds wrong to a naked ear to hear Muslim Black American. Most people would say Black Muslim American.
Right.
But I feel like to put it in its proper context, really, we Muslim Black Americans. You feel what I'm saying? So what do you feel like that means to you to be that?
Genuinely, it should mean equality, because Islam will sit down to us to put everybody on equal playing field. So deep down in my heart, I know that's what that means. Now I have experiences that tell me otherwise, but humans are going to human, people are going to people, and we don't oftentimes follow the things that we know we should follow. We don't oftentimes do the things that we know we should do. So I would say that from what I know in the teachings and what I know from the Quran and what I know from the Sunnah, that being a Muslim black man is a beautiful thing. Even from the story of Blakh, beautiful human. Struggled though. He struggled to be Muslim. He struggled, and I know it to be a beautiful thing. However, I know it to be a struggle. I know it to be a fight, to be still looked at as lesser than, but to still have the strength, knowing the truth, right? So it's one thing to be frustrated about the surroundings and the community and things that might not go your way, or people might treat you a certain type of way. And earlier on, those things definitely triggered me, because I'm not gonna say pro-black neighborhood or pro-black family or pro-black household. I'm not gonna say that because I don't really want to use those terms. But my mom took the time to educate me on Black history, like real Black history, not your typical Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X in school education, like real Black history.
Right.
So I have some legitimate feelings about being okay, enjoying and loving the fact that I was born with melanin. Like I don't feel like I'm lesser than by a law because I was born black.
Yeah. I feel like that's always been historically it's been a negative connotation that has been pushed on us. It's like being black is lesser than, you know what I mean? But in reality, bro, you have to be a fool to really believe that somebody's lesser than because of their skin color. You know what I mean? That's absolutely egregious.
So I think that what it means, if I could be frank and if I could be not as politically correct, I would say that being Muslim first and then combining it, because I like to say that the black is the addition. Allah essentially gave us superpowers because of our history of struggle. Any time that we struggle, anytime that we get sick, anytime that something goes wrong for us, or something that's quote unquote by the world's term bad, it's good for us. It's expiation of our sins. So
even down to the prick of a thorn.
The prick of a thorn. So it's if I didn't always look at it that way though. This is we're talking about a transition of thought process. In my younger years, I was frustrated. I'm like, yo, I came from the other side of things where it's I'm just a regular black American and I'm struggling to be seen. I'm struggling to be heard. I'm struggling to have a voice because I'm black. And then I come over on this side, I'm still struggling. I had to think about it we were all put here as a test. So maybe that continuance is a test in my heart. Like, am I gonna let that? Am I gonna let that go? Am I gonna be racist myself? Am I gonna look at other races a certain type of way because they treat me a certain type of way, or am I gonna allow the light of Islam and being a Muslim still allow me to look at my brothers and sisters in Islam that are not melanated, as far as like being black, and treat them with the respect that's just due from their rights upon me as my brother and sister in Islam.
Yeah.
That's how we really have to look at it.
Yeah.
So I feel like I went through that transition and continue to go through that transition. I still hear certain things from lectures and stuff that be like, I don't think I like the way they said that.
Yeah.
But I understand that their intentions, we don't know intentions because we're not in their heart.
Right.
So we have to look at it in a way that it's not I don't even know I'm not persecuting them, right? Because I'm not judging them.
Right.
So I think that being Muslim and being black is just it's also a journey. It's a journey of transitions. It's a journey of training and transitioning your mindset of how you see things that have happened, how you react to those things that have happened, the history, your history. Because I'm in a phase right now where I'm learning more about my family's roots. Like, I have strong Nigerian roots based off my DNA testing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because I was going to get into that with you about how black people in America have a hard time tracking our lineage back anywhere. You know, like, even like how they do it around the world, basically, like, you know, they go by your father, your father's father, your father's father. Like, we really don't have the luxury of doing too much of that, because a lot of our fathers don't even know their fathers. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, like, we have a heavy difficulty of tracing our lineage back, even by that standard, but let alone the stripping of the name, you know, the culture, the heritage over the course of hundreds of years. Like, what's your opinion and thoughts on, like, how they've done away with our I don't know the proper wording for it, but just like keeping track of your lineage?
Well, we all know that they've done their best to eliminate the learning of our lineage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you really want to know, like with anything else, you got to take action.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't make excuses for yourself. And I say that not to point the finger at anybody, but we don't really live in a society of accountability. So this is one of those things where you must take accountability. Like, I got tired of not really knowing, and then when I would go to the masjid and I'm like seeing like the Muslim old heads, like the brothers and sisters, like the elders, they would always ask me, like, where you from? And I would be like, Ohio. And they were like, nah, where are you from? And they said, like, features and stuff like that, they can pinpoint. They're like, one lady, she told me, she was like, you look like you from this area. And I did my DNA test, and I'm like, dang, that's crazy. How does she know that? I didn't even know that, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that you would just have to make the effort. Like, I don't want to pay for it. I get that, but, like, we shouldn't have to pay for something that we should rightfully have the rights to know and learn. However, we live in a system, in a space where that's what we have to do. And if you really want to know, I feel like you can't really get in tune with yourself spiritually, emotionally, if you don't know who you are.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that even if, one thing about, like, even with what you're doing as far as, like, finding your lineage out, it's a beautiful thing to be able to go back that far. But the fact that they've erased, like, the history of who is our grandfather, who is our grandfather's grandfather. Like, you know, we can trace our blood back and figure out where we descend from, but we don't even know, like, what did they go through. You see what I'm saying? Like, what did my grandfather go through, or his father? You see what I'm saying? Like, the fact that we don't have those kind of records or anything that, you know, because they couldn't write. They weren't writing about what their days were like. You know what I mean? Yeah. They had the luxury of learning that. And I'm not saying, like, our grandfathers, but even, even further back to that, to figure out what they went through, where they moved from, you know, what. Because a lot of people, bro, have literally historical backgrounds of their lineage. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
son of, even.
Even, like, you know, one of our mutual friends, like, he can trace his lineage back to almost, like, to the Prophet's time.
SubhanAllah.
You know what I mean? Like I was tripping when he was talking to me about it one day, bro. I'm like, wow, you can go back that far? Like I don't know my dad's dad.
Yeah, see, like I can't go back that far, but like on my father's side, I have a direct lineage to one of the pharaohs.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's pretty fire. Like when you do it, and they give you this report, you can kind of read into it and stuff like that. I thought it was pretty fire. It's pretty interesting. You know, at first I was making jokes of it. I'm like, I knew I was royalty, you peasants. But like, nah. But all jokes aside, it's like, our name is not our name. It's hard to like when you talk about lineage, right? Mm-hmm. And we was talking about like Islamic, they go Ibn. Yeah. We don't have a name to trace because a lot of us, our name is not our name. It's a slave name.
Yeah. Facts.
So it's like you can't trace what technically doesn't exist. There's no paper. There's no paper trail.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you are tying your name to your slave lineage, then of course, like most schools was teaching, your history starts with slavery.
Yeah.
And we all know that's not true.
Yeah. And I feel like there's another mix up with like who gets whose last name in America. You know, in Western societies, like, you know, in other cultures, you get your father's last name.
Yeah.
As simple as that. But in our culture, like, I have my mother's last name. You know, my father's last name is different. But even as far as that goes, though, his grandfather changed his name when he went to the military. He just went under a different name and took that name. So like my family's name is like literally he just made it up when he went to the military.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so like I don't have like a slave owner's last name or anything like that because he made it up.
That's crazy. That's actually a crazy story.
Yeah. But the thing about it is like his daughter, which is my grandmother, took his last name, but she gave my father her last name. You see what I'm saying? So my father doesn't have his father's last name.
Right.
He has his mother's. You see what I'm saying? So it's like the inconsistency in that makes it even that much harder.
It's Tetris.
Yeah. At best, like, you know, it's really like Tetris from all angles kind of deal. You know what I mean?
How long I've been knowing you? That's my first time hearing that story. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, subhanallah.
Yeah. So getting on to Muslim history, man, I was going to start with just giving some brief biographies of some of the figures, historically speaking, you know, that come from Islam. One of the ones I wanted to start with is somebody named Omar ibn Said. He was around, and I think he came over here in like 1807. He was enslaved in 1807 from West Africa. But he has some of the earliest.
Quick insert. We do know quite a few Muslims were slaves.
Yeah, for sure. I think the numbers, they don't have like an exact number, but it's between like 40 and 80%.
Yeah.
Were originally Muslim. But he was one of them though, and we still have it, like it's preserved in the museum, that his writings from 1831, where he was writing Arabic from the Quran, you know what I'm saying? Over here on like his jail cell and like on some parchment, like he was scratching into stuff, like he was literally just like writing it all the time. He was getting in trouble for writing Quran. But we still have it from 1831. You know, it's subhanAllah. And you know, the slavery didn't end until 1865, which quote unquote. And you know, afterwards, you know, they really got into sharecropping heavy, and mass incarceration started at an insane rate. You know, we only make up 4% of the world's population. We got 25% of the world's incarcerated people.
Let me ask you a question based off just the thought process. My brain went somewhere with this piece. Mm-hmm. Say Omar ibn Said, and many of the other Muslims, say they came over here by choice. Mm-hmm. What do you think America would look like if they came the slaves who came here by choice that were Muslim, so they're not slaves, they came over here by choice. What would America look like if they were able to keep their original belief system?
So you're saying like if they would have came over here how the Europeans did, instead of being like enslaved people.
Yeah.
If they would have came over
on their own expedition, or like if they was coming from, not searching for new land, but just like it's just exploring the world. Yeah. If they was exploring the world, how much different would America look? Not only from a religious aspect, but from a color stance aspect. What do you think?
Oh yeah, from a color stance aspect, it would be completely different because the majority would have never been what it is. You know what I mean? It would have never been that. That would have never been the case had the West African people came over here on their own volition. But also, I think it would have been, because America really geographically is a very sound space. Like we can grow our own crops here. We can do a lot here agriculturally and economically. But had it been an Islamic perspective and rule on the land when it was originating, it would be a completely different landscape. It would be like, I think it would be.
I think it'd be like 5 to 10 times better than the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah, and it would be similar to I feel like people would look at America like a second Mecca.
Yeah.
Sound
I get what you're saying,
but like a second Mecca. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's how much it would be flourishing.
I also think that we would have been good with the natives.
Yeah. I don't think we would have done what happened with them. It wouldn't happen like that.
Nah, they would still have access to all of their land.
Yeah, for sure, bro. It would be a completely different look. But the concept of like colonizing people in the first place is ridiculous, bro. Like if you look at conquering versus colonizing, why colonize? It's such a completely crazy concept, bro. You literally are like, instead of going somewhere and conquering them and going to war with them, killing their warriors and taking their weak people, they literally went somewhere and said, we're going to push what we believe onto you. You are going to adapt our way of living, and we're not going to kill your people. We're just going to make you turn into your lives are going to become how our lives are. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That is a crazy concept, bro. Because if you think about it, even like generationally, the impact that has over time.
Absolutely.
It's insane, bro.
It reminds me of the what was it? The letter the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent to was it Heracles?
Mm-hmm.
Remember when he was inviting him to Islam, but at the same time, like it wasn't like a threat of we're gonna wipe you out because Islam didn't swear by the sword. It was just like an invitation, right? I feel like if they would have came over on their own volition, it would have been something like that. And I don't think that even this, I think not only American history, but I think Islam history in the West would have a different connotation as well.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you 100% because I feel like, I'm sure as we go through like the historical things, we'll end up touching on the nation, but the way that they developed and the way that formulated was, due to improper education on what Islam is really, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. So talk to me about Wali Abdul Akram.
Say that one more time.
Talk to me about Wali Abdul Akram.
Okay, yeah. So Wali was born in Texas in 1904, and at 14 years old, he ended up going to a college in Texas for electrical engineering. But he was born into a Baptist family, and he was a very intelligent brother, man. He invented the link that goes between railroad cars, and didn't get any credit for it though. You know how they do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
no surprise there.
And he invented a patent for a machine gun prior to that, and sold it for like $50.
Can you imagine? Doing the right patent the right way.
Yeah, and I mean you got to think about the time period. That was right before that was like during the First World War.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He sold patents for a machine gun for $50, and the railroad thing that he created, they used it around the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which is crazy. But yeah, so bro ended up, he was very intelligent, bro, but he became Muslim in 1923, bro, to I think the Ahmadi. You know what I'm saying? That's who he was introduced to Islam by. But then he ended up moving to Cleveland and starting the first mosque there in 1932. In 1932.
So it was like a 9-year span where he was just like growing, developing. I wonder what made him relocate to Cleveland.
Man, he moved a few times, but I think he moved to what's in St. Louis, I think he moved to, And then he moved to Cincinnati, was moving between Cincinnati and Dayton.
Oh, okay.
You know, spreading out, and then moved to Cleveland and started.
It's funny because it reminded me of that, you know, me being a Bulls fan, remind me of that Joe Kim Noah statement. He was like, why Ohio? Ain't nobody going to Ohio.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that, like, it's like, yeah, so I was just curious because I have to look up more information on him, but I'm curious as to what caused his transition. Was it willing? Was it forcefully? Like, what was he thinking when he said, I'm leaving Texas and I'm going to Ohio?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I have no idea why, or, you know, I have no idea, but yeah, that's something interesting to think about. I know bro ended up having 12 children and 60 grandchildren, and from what I read, all of them stayed in Islam.
SubhanAllah. Because like we getting to a point where that's not, you can't even trace Muslim family no more because they slowly but surely getting assimilated into Western society. That's really, that means they was locked in then.
Yeah, you gotta think for the time period as well.
Yeah,
you know
I wonder if we can trace, like, not on no weird stuff, but I wonder if we could trace their family, like, even today, like in 2023.
Yeah. I'm sure they probably can though, bro.
I'm pretty sure, like, if like he got some family still around, not like
because he has great grandchildren.
Yeah, great grandchildren.
You know what I mean, in the region. But he was the second person from America to be admitted into Mecca to do Hajj.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Nah, that's crazy for real.
Yeah, real talk. And I don't know if you know this as well. I'm not sure what year it was or when it was done, but I know it was roughly 100 years ago. The first person to write the Quran in English was a Jewish man.
I didn't know that. They be knowing?
Yeah.
Like, we ain't gonna get into it on this episode, but they be knowing.
Yeah. I think it's crazy how people like outside the religion will take such an interest into it, just to even sometimes to combat it. You know what I mean? Like us as
we see it all the time.
We're like hard off on learning our religion. Like we want to learn about what we need to learn about. That there's people outside of our religion going as far as to willing to write it. You know what I'm saying? And
to find the flaws, to find what's wrong with it.
He ended up becoming Muslim though. The man who wrote it.
Yeah. So I was just about to say that I've seen so many stories where that their intention was literally to come learn about Islam so they could destroy it, tear it down, dissect it, whatever it may be, and then we plan. And Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. So you know how that get right.
Facts. Yeah, I think he became Muslim. I remember my mom was giving a lecture about it not too long ago. I'm almost certain it was over like a piece of bread on a car train in Arabia. Like he would travel to Arabia, and a man like had like a piece of bread and offered him some of it, and like that started their dialogue. You know what I mean? And that's what led into Islam.
Bruh.
Yeah.
So actually, that don't surprise me because, like I said, my introduction to conversation about Islam and like really getting deep down into it was I was at training, and like I always did back in the day. I had a cross. I was wearing a cross, and the brother was like, "What that mean to you?" And I was like, "It's just jewelry." And he was like, "You like reading books?" And I was like, "Yeah." He gave me some books, and that's how the conversation started. It was never nothing pressing. It was never like hyper aggressive. Why you wearing that? It was never nothing like that. It was very chill, and that made me, which I was way more hot-headed during that time, that made me like more open to the conversation, more open to the dialogue. Because not because of his question, I didn't think about like, why he asking me that. I thought about like, what does it mean to me? Like that was the question that popped in my head. Aside from like, nah, why you asking me that, bro? I don't know you from Adam. Like, you know what I mean? But so that actually is not surprising that that's how that happened. That's a beautiful way to learn somebody being generous or being kind to you, and that's how you open up to it. Mashallah.
Yeah, but Wali died in 1994 though, so his people are definitely still around.
Oh, okay.
His people are definitely still around.
You know, may Allah have mercy on him.
I mean,
grant him a place in paradise.
I mean, yeah, and after the. I think it's crazy also like how like Farad Muhammad, came to America and the things that they were able to accomplish, because now that we're getting to that point in history, that he came and started a nation in like 1930s when the nation kicked up.
I'm sorry, good old nation boys. Let me ask you a real question. You don't have to answer, by the way. You know how I rock. You have to answer.
No, go ahead and ask.
the Nation of Islam members, are they Muslim?
Nah, all jokes aside, like not even being funny, I can't say that they are though. I would not say yes to that. And it's not to say that. So as Muslims, if anybody claims to be Muslim, we can't tell you that you're not, just based off of the simple fact that we don't know what's in your heart.
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't say that if you claim to be Muslim, you can claim to be, you can claim to be anything. There's men out here claiming to be women and women claiming to be men nowadays. You can claim to be anything. But what are you really though? You see what I'm saying? What does being a Muslim require, and are you meeting those requirements? You see what I'm saying? Are you really upon La ilaha illallah? You know, is that really what you're upon, or is it an innovative version of this? You know, respectfully, because I think the nation has done amazing things for,
Beautiful
especially
for the community.
Yes, especially the black community. You know,
Yeah.
the strides and things that they were able to accomplish and moves that they were able to make. You cannot hate on that. And even like the reformation of black people, they do an amazing job, bro.
Absolutely.
So I'm not throwing no
Absolutely.
shade at them on that end. It's more the theological side of things, you know. And
That's for me. That's all it is. That's
Yeah.
all. That's all it's ever been. Like
Yeah.
there's some fundamental things in that akida that do not align with Islam.
yeah, 100%, 100%.
Everything else though, as far as like, especially because we're talking about being black in America,
Oh,
dog, they've aced that test.
Yeah.
Like they've like I've looked at them and admired the movement as far as like what they do for the black community, how they empower the black community, how they, and not empowered to be negative or aggressive, but empowered to use your brain,
Yeah.
empower you to seek logic, seek
Yeah.
knowledge, and to be proactive in your community. Like those things, man, that's what we need.
yeah.
We don't
those
need
are, those are commendable things, you know what I
Absolutely.
mean? But it's like you said, the theological things that hinder them from, I feel like, even reaching with the success that they should and could have reached. you know?
Absolutely. I feel like they would be much bigger.
Had they adapted to Sunni Islam, you
Yeah,
know, instead
absolutely.
of pushing these racial mythologies and things like that. Like, do you want to address some of the things that they have in their theology that is off?
I mean, we
Instead
just
of
get
just pointing a finger and not saying nothing, you know?
the main one about. I'm not calling him honorable, but Elijah Muhammad.
Yeah.
He's not a prophet.
Yeah, as simple as that.
That's if we want to call it a quarrel, that's my main quarrel. Like I can't rock with that. We know, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. We know, Allah is one, and Muhammad is his final prophet and messenger.
Yeah.
The rest of that you added on is innovation.
Yeah.
And I have to listen, brothers and sisters. I do not mean this in a disrespectful manner. This dialogue is not to be of disrespect to anybody.
No, it's just blatantly honest.
Yeah.
It's not cutting no corner but telling how it is. Which you gotta respect though, you know what I mean? It's just honest conversation. We're not trying, there's no combative intention behind it. You know what I mean? You're just telling the truth of what it is. And the fact that they do look at Elijah Muhammad as a prophet and hold him at such a high esteem to us would be to a fault. And even to say they even have like some conversation. I'm not saying all of them believe this, but even the conversation about like, is he dead or not yet?
Yeah, their
you know
tradition.
what I mean?
Yeah, just their tradition.
And even like some of the things like Farad being Allah in the form of a man, that's next to you might as well just
Say you're Christian.
I mean, how close can you get? You know what I mean? You just basically took what they we talk about to be such a group that is against the oppression that has happened to them, to adapt something from the oppressor such as this and put it into something that you believe in. Like, wow, you just basically...
For the record, Muslims love Isa or Jesus.
Oh, 100%.
For the record.
100%.
Beautiful soul, beautiful man, not a god.
Yes.
So that's not a diss. What he was saying, what he's trying to speak on is just like that societal stigma of putting the man in the space of God and worshiping him as such.
Yes.
That's where we take issue.
Yes, exactly. Because if you read Islam, if you read the Quran, excuse me, not Islam, but if you read the Quran, you will quickly see that is not what Islam is.
Right.
But the thing is, I think that they have such a social agenda that they're trying to accomplish, which is, I don't think nothing wrong with their social agenda. I'm with the oppressed always, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm always going to stand with the oppressed people.
Yes.
And the black people in America have went through some of the harshest oppression in history. So I see why why they're standing how they stand, but I think that the problem is taking the religion and trying to push your social agenda. You see what I'm saying? This is not what the religion came to do. It came to rectify and change your social agenda to fit the religion, not the opposite. You see what I'm saying? Don't take the religion, try and fit it to your social agenda. You see?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that's for me my biggest issue. And on top of that, like, some of the things, like, I get it though. I get it, bro. Honestly, I do. But I don't think that, like, how could I? Because, okay, when I came into Islam, prior to that, I had only known about the Nation of Islam.
Right.
So when I was thinking about joining the Nation of Islam, even, I'm thinking, how can I join something that my mother can't join? How am I going to put my entire belief system and everything on this, and my mom can't even get in it? You know what I mean? Like, that for me was what raised red flags, and that's what made me even wonder what is Islam then? Like, if this is, like, quote unquote the Nation of Islam, what is Islam? You know what I mean? And that's what made me start looking into the Prophet Muhammad versus Elijah Muhammad. You see what I'm saying? And that's what I think that's where they go wrong though, and I think that's where they could have huge success at if they were to remove this racial mythology. We both know about the last sermon of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he spoke on the fact that there is no superiority of an Arab over a non-Arab, or a non-Arab over an Arab, and also a black man over a white man, or a white man over a black man.
Yeah.
This is one of the earliest racial claims ever, you know what I'm saying, to speak against this. This wasn't a common thing that people were talking about in 600, 700, AD.
No, it was all about your family lineage, how much land, how much power, how much money you had.
Tribal things like this.
It's tribal.
But it was never like the racial content put like that, you see what I'm saying? And for them to come and try and reinvent the wheel to fit what they got going on, I don't think was the right approach.
Well, you know how, like, two things can be true. Like, black people are oppressed, so are other people oppressed. However, you can push. What's the phrase, man? Like, me getting food or you getting food on your plate doesn't take away my ability to get food on my plate. Meaning that you can empower, you can build up the black community without making it a us versus them.
Yes, for sure. And I think that so I watched some early videos of, like, Farrakhan. I've read some of the things that Elijah Muhammad has put out there, and I see where they were trying to go, and they really were. I think they had that in mind, but I don't think that they knew how to
Execute,
yeah. And I don't think that with all the slander and hatred that they took, it ended up being them spewing it back, and you know what I mean?
Let me give Farrakhan his flowers, though, because he is one of the most eloquently spoken men I've ever. Like,
yeah, I won't take that away from him.
Ever.
And, like, even the way that he used to stand up against them back in the day, but they used to try to talk to him like he was a peon, and he used to go up there and let
he wasn't with it. Yeah, he wasn't with it.
No.
And to me, even as a youth and growing up and seeing that, like, I used to get fired up about that stuff. Like, I couldn't rock with the baseline ideologies, but, like, when I listened to how eloquent he spoke, how intelligently he spoke, I'm like, good. Like, this is a black man holding his own.
Standing
on 10.
Yeah.
Like, he's not gonna allow you to treat him like a welcoming mat.
Yeah. Him, even Muhammad Ali, the same. Like, I commended him for the same thing. Like, that's what I admire about him as well. The way that he would stand and talk like that, bro, in front of people, and to all them different causes and things like that. Like, ooh.
Yeah, you knew what it was. You knew what it was at face value. But even if you look at that, Muhammad Ali, he came over to traditional Islam. Malcolm X became El Hajj Shabazz. Traditional Islam. So it's like when you get exposed to real Islam, because I think what Malcolm X said when he went to Hajj and he seen what it was, when he said this white brother praying next to him, and then like when he saw the beauty of what Islam was really supposed to be, I don't think it came out as him disliking the nation. I think he just realized that they needed to transition.
Yeah, me too.
If that was the case, and that, you know, obviously when you have power involved, then certain situations pan out like they shouldn't, unfortunately. But I think that again, I really want to stress this. Like I encourage and invite all Nation of Islam members to really seek true knowledge in the Quran and in the in the Sunnah, and really deep dive, like scuba dive into Sunni Islam and what that really is and what it means and what it really stands for. And when you do that, you'll see that you still have your place. As a melanated person, you still have your place, but your place is in alignment with everybody else. There is no race among another one. That's not how we're supposed to function. And in that attitude is the very reason why we're in the position that we're in today.
So when you look at like the history of the nation, which, you know, is a unique saying in and of itself, but when you look at their history and their leaders, and when they had, like, I would say their most powerful point, you know, or most influential point was in the 60s, you know, during the civil uproar. I think that the most people ever to be in the nation was in like 64, you know, and it's slowly been declining since then. But a lot of people left when Elijah Muhammad died. You know, his son took over, and his son brought a lot of people to Sunni Islam. Even there's a masjid in Springfield where a lot of the whole congregation came from the Nation of Islam to Sunni Islam through his son.
Okay, so I mean, you might know more about this particular situation, but I thought he was kicked out. Or did he leave under his own volition, or I thought he was kicked out. So
from the readings that I read, man, he told Elijah Muhammad that he was going to take it towards Sunni Islam, and like from what I read, I don't know how certain this is or if it was written from a biased perspective, but the reading I read said that his dad was like allowing him to do that, like gave him the go ahead to do so.
Oh, okay.
But then he passed and started doing it, and a lot of the people in the nation that were stuck on their, you know, racial mythologies and things like that didn't like what he was doing.
They didn't rock with it.
Nah, so that's when they decided to put Farrakhan in charge and move him out, and he ended up starting up his own little Sunni group kind of deal. You know what I mean, like a black Sunni.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And it brought a lot of people to Sunni Islam. I was even reading something that said that he brought the most people in American history to Sunni Islam. Because I always thought, I was under the impression it was Malcolm X. But they say he brought more than Malcolm X to Sunni Islam.
That wouldn't surprise me. He was around longer too.
Longer, yeah, because Malcolm X was only Sunni for 3 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas he's been in Sunni for years, but yeah.
MashaAllah, may Allah protect him.
I mean, yeah, man, but when I look back at their trajectory and like their motion of growth, like if we were looking at it on like a charting system, you know what I mean? They're declining, and I wonder what's going to happen when, you know, I'm not speaking death on nobody, and, you know, may Allah guide him and, you know, even preserve him, you know, Farrakhan.
Oh, yeah.
But what happens when he passes, you know? What direction do you think that the nation goes from there?
Yeah, who's the voice? Like, I've asked myself this internally. I'm like,
I think that they got a brother. You ever heard of Nori?
Yeah, what's the most? He's not Farrakhan.
No. Yeah, I agree.
So
I agree.
I hear you. And there's a few other ones that I've seen that have taken up that mantle. But like when you they do things, obviously you're an individual, you do things your own individual way. Like I just don't see them having the same pool that Farrakhan, because Nori is based in Indianapolis, right?
Yeah. Or Michigan, 1 or 2.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But like those guys, they can definitely speak.
Yeah, he can talk. He's eloquent, but I'm just saying he's not.
To carry that mantle.
Yeah. That's a heavy one, you know what I mean?
Them footsteps is
Yeah, are you going to be able to feel those? And I wonder, like, and you know, the Sunni Islam is growing at a rapid rate. Like, I'm wondering what is the rate of those brothers and sisters who are going to come over to Sunni Islam, and how is that going to impact the demographic? You know what I mean? Like, even like Philadelphia is a good example of that. Like, they had a lot of brothers originally who were in the nation, but now they got a big Sunni demographic there. You know what I mean?
I don't think it's gonna go I don't think it's gonna go anywhere. I just think it's gonna get to a point where it plateaus and it just stays at this plateau, because there's always gonna be a group of black people who are gonna feel that message. It's gonna feel like, you know what y'all saying is right. I do feel like we deserve more. I do feel like, black power, black empowerment, I should say, and like the development of the communities and stuff like that. Because, I feel like they were trying to recapture kind of like what Black Wall Street was, where like where we had our own businesses, own transportation, and before it got burned down and stuff like that. So I think that there's always going to be somebody who follows that vision. However, I think that plateau mark is quickly approaching if it hasn't already happened. And then also outside of that, if we're being completely honest, I won't even say the rise of Sunni Islam is the reason why the plateau. I think the real reason why the plateau is we don't have enough parents actually implementing some type of structure in the home, especially in the black family. So you're straying away in that regard. And then we are not slowly, we are fastly approaching a Western society that wants to do without God.
Yeah, right.
So with that being the case, I think that actually is the biggest detriment to their movement, because the whole thing is structure, discipline, and community empowerment. That's their whole structure. But if you now having families or lack of families, kids in broken homes, because they would carry the mantle of their parents, and broken homes, and they want to do without will, why would they indulge in that structure? Some could say the opposite could be true. Well, them will be the main ones that come over. Sure, that could be the case. Right. But if that was the case, then it would have already happened. Their numbers would have already been booming.
Yeah, I'm interested to see the route that it takes, man. I really, I feel like that's when America is going to have its biggest change, of when our community specifically starts moving towards Islam. You know what I mean? It starts taking on. Because it's bound to happen at the rate that Islam is spreading, not just birth rates, but as well as like conversion rates. You know what I mean?
Don't we already have the largest Muslim community?
I'm sorry?
And black Americans, don't we make up the largest portion right now?
Of Muslims, yeah, in America. But I'm saying, like, when the percentage changes and the majority of black people are Muslim.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying? When that change happens, that's when things, I think, are going to really, like...
I think when that happens, our community changes. I think the music goes away.
Yeah.
I think the praising and worshiping of money and idols goes away.
And you see the celebrity things already changing due to how... Like, when we were kids, bro, a celebrity was a big thing.
Yeah.
Nowadays, there's social media celebrities.
Anybody can be a celebrity.
Yeah, if you're big on social media, you're a celebrity.
Yeah.
So celebrity is becoming a normal thing. There's so many celebrities in your community already. You know what I mean? So I think that, like you said, once those other things become watered down like that as well, it's going to take a drastic change. I think it's going to be for the better, for sure. You know what I mean? Like, implementing Islam is always going to make things better. Yeah, the only thing to that is, the saying, Islam began as something strange and it will return as something strange. So good tidings to the stranger. So like what, like I get what you're saying, but like, it just hit me, and this definitely spurred a moment to that saying. Maybe it doesn't mean like strange as in strange, like I don't get it. Maybe it means that we're gonna lose our way to what Islam and what a Muslim is supposed to be, right? You're just a Muslim by label, because Islam is not a religion. It's a way. It's a lifestyle. It's an act to be submissive. But if you're not practicing, then you've lost your way. Then it's strange to you. Like if you, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Or my parents said I had to do this. You didn't do the research, so it's strange to you. I don't want to wear the hijab. You didn't read the Quran. You didn't see what Allah says about it. You didn't see how it's a protection for you, so it's strange to you. Maybe that's what, because it also gonna get to a point where like holding on to our deen is like holding on to hot coal. Right. So you put those two sayings together, and you look at the world that we exist in right now, like Western society right now. Is it not hard? Is it not hard to hold on to your deen right now? Like hard. Like is it not strange when you see certain things, like
You could be playing the game or whatever. You could be out and about, and prayer come in, and you see yourself going to prayer, but then you know somebody who's a Muslim and they don't go to prayer. That's strange, right? So it's like, it's not a judgmental thing. It's just like, that's strange. I think that we already in that space, and I think that's what actually will block the global outlook of kind of like what we were discussing before. Like, is it going to expand? Yeah, it could expand, but to what degree? To like the Munafiqun expansion, or the false expansion, or real expansion?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, the risk that we're going to conversion, you know what I mean, within it.
Diluting.
Yeah. It down. Yeah, that's unique. That's unique, bro. I ain't think about it like that.
Because if you look at now, right, we got. I'm trying to refrain. Like, we have YouTube. We have like different sources of media, teachers on YouTube, and then you have YouTube sheikhs. So you have people who come out and they want to disrespect and challenge these teachers who put forth time, right? It's okay for you to ask questions. Islam invites anybody to ask questions, right? However, like, if you get into a point where you feel like you know more than a teacher, which you don't, but you know what I'm saying, you disrespecting them, like, then our pathways to knowledge then becomes blocked.
Yeah. Where's the respect for the scholars?
Yeah,
for sure. Because people nowadays, but even like, okay, because as we came into the religion, when I came in, I had zeal as well, you know. Like, I wanted to. Bro, I remember thinking like, how come nobody become Muslim? I became Muslim. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, they must have think I just did this on a whim. Like, ain't nobody interested. You know what I mean?
Verbal sparring though, and like in that eagerness is not what I'm referring to though. You know what I'm talking about? Like, when people watch a video, be like, oh, he doesn't follow my school of thought, so his school of thought is wrong, or this is that and the third. And I'm just saying, like, in Islam, the beautiful thing is when somebody, like, if somebody who is a liar, right? Somebody who's a liar, they foul, right? But they tell you a truth. Does that change the truth?
No, the truth is the truth.
The truth is the truth, no matter who said it, no matter where it comes from. So, if you got a teacher who's teaching about Islam, he's upon the hawk, like he's truly just in his intention. We don't know his intention, but what we gather that he's trying to teach what's right. Why then have the audacity to like slander or tear down this man? Like, oh, he did this, or we know that he does that. Listen, look, just because you're a teacher doesn't mean that you're not fallible. That doesn't mean that you don't have flaws. Doesn't mean that you don't make mistakes. Everybody does. And you're not supposed to hold them up into this high regard anyway in Islam. You're not supposed to do that. They're just a teacher. They're just the man. So when you look at a person like that, that also shows a flaw in your own thought process. Like, you held them up on this pedestal that they didn't ask for, right? And you shouldn't be doing anyway. But you wouldn't know that if you don't study, right? So again, it's strange.
Because even like positioning people in their proper place is important. Because in the same breath that you're saying that, we also have to be mindful of the fact that the most beneficial people to mankind are the scholars of Islam, really. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the people who memorize Quran and Sunnah, in our perspective, those are the celebrities. You know, those are the ones who you should be in awe of, really, you know. But like you said, understanding that they're people, they're gonna fall short, they're gonna make their sins. You know what I mean? It's balancing those. You know what I mean? You got to balance things in this thing, especially in this dunya. You know what I mean?
Moderation.
Exactly.
Which is something that Islam teaches very clearly, but if you listen to the media and the news and the outside world, they'll tell you that Islam is extremist religion. It's very funny. And also probably the main reason why you don't see too many teachers or people with knowledge address that statement. Because why would they? Like, if you're speaking without knowledge, it's clear that you're speaking without knowledge. I'm not going to address something. You know what I'm saying? What is it? Lions don't what's the saying?
Don't care about the opinion of sheep.
Yeah, lions don't care about the opinion of sheep.
Yeah, I always wonder how does. Now this is a bit, you know, we're diverting here, but how do you feel like the media ended up becoming such an influential thing? Because I remember studying psychology, and we were talking about propaganda and how it impacted the Jewish people in Hitler's reign. You know, like how he used propaganda to move the masses into believing something so far-fetched. And I feel like that same thing happens with like people's view on Islam. Like, you know, 9/11 happened, and even mine. I was a young kid, and I remember how I started looking at, you know, Islam and Muslim culture through what I was fed through the media. You know, like, how do you feel like that how did media become the source of education? You see what I'm saying? Like, how are you supposed to learn something through the, like, you can watch the news and learn?
I'm gonna touch on this and then we'll wrap up because that's gonna be for like a bigger episode.
Okay, yeah.
The news and the media, do you believe it to be a tool?
It's not misused, but I think you can use any tool wrong.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm getting at. So I feel like it's always been a tool. I feel like it's always been like the newspapers. Those things are always been a way to spread the word, right? Mm-hmm. But if you are a person or people or government that has an agenda, you don't want anything that would challenge or break the ideology of that agenda.
Yeah.
The main thing that you even hear about Islam from Western media is being extremists, mm-hmm. and they scared about Sharia law, mm-hmm. right? And jihad, which they don't even know the real meaning of jihad. Yeah. So I'm not even gonna get into that.
Yeah, we say that for another day.
But like those three things are like the boogeyman or the taboo words. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, let's do something simple. Sharia law. Most people in the West don't know what Sharia law means. However, let me tell you what the government is really afraid of. Sharia law will get rid of taxes. It will get rid of riba.
Yes.
You think capitalist America want to get rid of that? Nah, end of discussion. like end of discussion. Also, extremists. Let's address it. There are millions of Muslims in the world. Most of them just want to live their life. Mm-hmm. Don't want to be bothered. And you're associating the act of some unruly group to a whole belief system, a whole group of
the last, like, you know,
there you go.
That's almost a fourth of the world.
There you go. So we already have a large number. If all this large group of people was all for that type of ideology, bro, there wouldn't be no more world, bro.
Yeah, seriously.
So like those. It's just dumb. Like in my opinion, like it's dumb. But we know that it's a tool. We know that tool has a backing, mm-hmm. that has a agenda behind it, mm-hmm. you know, and the easiest agenda to push is this is America, this is what we stand for, and then this is this enemy, and they stand for something that's not what we stand for, so they are the enemy. Yeah. America has to start a war every 10 years, and I'm gonna leave that one at that. Mm-hmm. They have to start a war every 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
So I want to ask you one last question before we get out of here. What is your vision? What is your hopes for the Black American people moving forward with Islam?
I want my community, our community, to stop killing each other. Mm. I want us to stop thinking that it's cool to be in the streets. I want us to stop glorifying the sleeping around with multiple women, money, clothes, cars, and hoes. I want us to stop glorifying doing your activity. I want us to really to seek knowledge and empower our mind, and therefore light the fire in our soul to become better humans overall, not just for our own personal well-being, but for each other.
Yeah.
The best way, to fix anything is to start from within. Mm-hmm. So whether that be a smile, whether that be doing some charity work without seeking the attention that you're doing charity work. I just think that we are a community that is really strong and really powerful, but we don't know how strong and powerful we are because we keep spinning the wheel. So my hope for us is to, when you see wrong, you know, I understand that people have held triggers, but do so respectfully. Like if you see something wrong in the street, you see brothers going at it, like try to stop it. Yeah. We already fighting the uphill battle. Let's not contribute to that uphill.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's my hope for the community, and I hope that Allah continues to expand our community with those that are knowledgeable, those that are true, those who want to walk in light, those who want to walk in haq, so that we may be proper slaves, and I mean that in the most respectful way, to Allah. And if we act with empathy and we act with mercy, then we will continue to grow and expand by the will of Allah.
Inshallah. Yeah, man, beautiful, bro. That was a beautiful answer. I appreciate the insight, man, the conversation, for real, bro. I always appreciate it, every time.
It's always love, bro.
Yes, sir, man. And thank y'all for tapping into the first episode of the new season of Black Academia. We appreciate y'all. It's nothing but love and respect to everybody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being said, Assalamu alaikum, bro.
Walaikum salam, salam alaikum to y'all. Appreciate y'all tapping in. Stay tuned. It's going down. We bringing it, and we coming with love. Honestly, like, we coming with heat, but we coming with love, because I want to see people grow and expand. I want to see people enjoy this. I want to hear y'all feedback and insight. Hit me up on Anchor and let me know, topics and suggestions y'all might have, and leave comments, man. We gonna make it happen, inshallah. But salam alaikum. Peace be with y'all, and we'll see you soon.